Good afternoon. Welcome to the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Board meeting today. It is January 15th, 2025. The meeting is called to order at 2:04 p.m. I'll turn it over to Kyla for roll call. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Board meeting today. It is January 15th. So please, everybody, to make it easier for our cart writer and our interpreters, can you please mute your microphones if you're not speaking?
Okay, I'll start with a roll call. Commissioner Herron?
Here.
Commissioner Kidd?
Here.
Commissioner Venkatesh?
Here.
Commissioner O'Rourke?
Here. Here.
Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Williams?
Here.
Commissioner Goodstein?
Hi, I'm here.
Commissioner Cohen?
Here.
Commissioner Bolmarsich?
Here.
ADOA reps, Brian Westerberg?
Here.
Stella Cunningham?
Here.
Our AAG, Elise Phelan?
Here with my colleague, Vicki Bergen, Assistant Attorney General.
Awesome, thank you. And then ACDHH staff present, Nikki Sukup?
Hello.
Carmen Greensmith?
Hi,
Suke Neifel?
I'm here.
Ricky Gonsalski?
I am here.
Sherry Collins?
I'm here.
And then myself, Kyla Dalton-Nava.
Sherry says I'm here. Thank you, Kyla, for conducting the roll call. And thank you to our ADOA reps and our AAG for being present today. We appreciate you making the time to come and help guide us. Thank you so much. The next item on our agenda is to approve the meeting minutes. We have meeting minutes from two meetings that need to be approved, December 3rd and December 20th from 2024. Do we have a motion on the floor to approve the meeting minutes for those two meetings? Commissioner Kidd made a motion to approve the meeting minutes for both meetings. Do we have a second?
This is Harvey. I'm having a hard time getting my video turned on today, but I do second that.
Great. Commissioner Goodstein, seconds. Okay. The motion carries. Thank you all for that. The chair's report. I don't have much to discuss today in my report. I do want the board to know that today is an important day. We have several items on the agenda. So I want the board to be aware that we have a hard stop at 4 p.m. In our last meeting, we went much longer than I would have liked that. I would like to be respectful of everybody's time today. If there are any remaining agenda items that we don't get to today, they will be moved over for our next meeting. So let's focus on, oh, Commissioner O'Rourke, do you mind holding just for a moment?
Yep, that's fine.
I appreciate that. So we would like to finish 4 key items today: the discussion of the interim director, the search process, officer elections, and establishing the 2025 quarterly meeting. So those will be the main focus for our discussion today. Let's please be respectful of everybody's time and also respectful of the process. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, to react, or to turn on your video. I know that some of you are having a difficult time turning your videos on, so we'll make sure that you have the time to be able to turn your videos on if you would like. I believe that Commissioner O'Rourke had a question. So Commissioner O'Rourke, please feel free to turn on your camera and ask your question, and then we can move forward.
Yes, Madam Chairman, this is Commissioner O'Rourke. I had a question in going over the minutes that at the end of the last board meeting, there was a suggestion made that because a number of commissioners had to leave before the vote was taken for the executive director, that there was a suggestion put forth about retaking the vote before the executive director research opened up again. I don't know how to include that in the meeting or where it should be, but I would like that to be addressed and answered.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Rourke, for that reminder. I have spoken with our AAG, and we've decided to move forward with selecting an interim director and starting the search process. So I will let our AAG, Elise, expand a bit on that decision. Elise?
So the vote was made at the end of the last meeting, and a motion to move forward with the search was made and voted on. And once that's done and it's ratified, then you have to move forward. So that's what we'll be doing. Thanks.
Thank you, Elise. So if there are no further questions, we'll move on to the selection of an interim director. Before we dive in, I would like the board to know that we do have our AAG here. If we have any legal questions that need to be asked about the selection of an interim director, she is here for that. And we can go into an executive session to discuss those legal questions. I would also like the board to know that we do already have somebody who has put herself forward and expressed interest in being the interim director. Her name is Nikki Sukup. She's the Director of Policy and Communication for ACDHH. She emailed the board last week sharing her interest. Before we talk about Nikki's interest, I'm not sure if there are other individuals who would like to move themselves forward and express interest of becoming interim director for our consideration. I see Commissioner Cohen.
Hello, yes, this is Commissioner Cohen. So I'm wondering if we could ask Carmen Green if she might be willing to be interim director. Are we able to ask that question directly to a person?
We could. I believe that Carmen is present today. Commissioner Cohen would like to know if you are interested in being interim director.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Cienko, and to other board members. From the vantage point that I see right now, I have not been properly informed that I was removed from the running for the executive director. I've had no communication from the Arizona Department of Administration or anything from the board. I would very much be interested in running for interim, but I do believe that there is a process somewhere within this process. Something has been skipped based on my history with ADOA. Individuals who apply for a position, there is a proper way to inform those individuals that they are no longer in the running or something. Something seems to be quite awry here. I will, for the record's sake, say, yes, I am interested, but I will also say for the record that I'm very concerned that this process does not seem typical to the standards of the Arizona Department of Administration, and I will be asking further questions. So the answer, Commissioner Cohen, is yes.
Thank you, Carmen. I just wanted to say that I appreciate your frankness and your perspective on the process. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today. Definitely, this has been a learning experience for us. And just one moment, I have many hands raised. So it's causing some confusion as to who wants to speak. So if everybody can hold for just a moment. I would like to let Carmen finish her comment. And then Commissioner Kidd, and then whomever. So my apologies, Carmen, please proceed.
Yes. No worries. I do have a question since we do have ADOA staff here. And actually, it's more than not just a question, but more of a statement as well as for the board. In looking at an interim director, why would we be looking outside of the two individuals that made it to finalists as opposed to someone who did not pass the first screening in the process? And I would strongly urge the board to take that into consideration when voting.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback, Carmen. Commissioner Kidd, you had your camera on earlier. Is there something that you would like to add?
I was not trying to interrupt. I just had something to add. I do agree that we had candidates rather that did not make it to the final process, but I do have some questions for ADOA. I believe it's best for those questions to be asked in executive session on that specific process. Hopefully we'll get a quick response to the questions that.
Okay, Commissioner Kidd. So we have a motion on the floor in order to go into executive session. Do you want to hear what other people have to say before we go into executive session? Like Commissioner Bolmarsich and Commissioner Herron?
Before anyone moves forward from the AAG, just want to say that if it's a question for anything other than legal advice, we cannot go into executive session for it. So if it's a legal question, I'd like to clarify whether it's a legal question or whether it's a question that would be needed to be discussed in open session based on the agenda.
And this is Commissioner Kidd. I'm not precisely sure if it's a legal question or not. So I would like to play it on the safe side, and I will take the opportunity in that session, and that's not a problem. I can propose it during the open meeting as well. I will hold my proposal for the floor until we cover other things, and then I can bring my motion rather back.
Commissioner Bolmarsich? And then Commissioner Herron.
I'm not sure the AAG was done speaking.
And also, just a second, I want to let Commissioner Herron know that her video is quite blurry, and I'm not sure if she's aware of that. Commissioner Bolmarsich?
First, I wasn't sure that the AAG was done speaking, so I wanted to confirm that first.
Sure, I was just clarifying something. I understand that there's, you guys are saying you're teetering on unsure if it's legal advice, but I'm just really not sure what the question would be, because we could potentially verify right now if it would be legal advice, if we could just clarify what the question you'd be bringing would be.
Yeah, that.
My question is, do we as the board have to give a final answer to ADOA or not regarding the two applicants, and whether they are still in consideration, because that hasn't been determined yet? We decided for searching for an interim director, but whether or those candidates are continuing to be in consideration or not, I'm not sure of the legal implications or the ADOA perspective. So that's where my question lies.
So that sounds like it'd be more related to the search, as far as questions for HR goes, and how the, search going forward may be affected by the way the search ended for the last one. And a question for ADOA and HR would not necessarily be a legal one, and I think you would have to have that in open session. And so I would stick to the interim director, because that's the agenda item that we've already started.
Yes. My question arose related to the interim director because of Carmen Smith's comments and my concerns about whether there's still candidates in the running, whether that's the interim. That's where the question comes from. That's the point I want clarification on. So again, we will need to discuss that. What the ADOA's opinion is on that, and if it's not a legal question, I'm more than happy to discuss it in open session. I just wasn't sure, but I will let the other commissioners go first and then ask that question. Yeah,
so I would say that again, I'm not certain that that's a legal question, and also the question of this is about the selection of an interim director, not necessarily about other matters related to executive director appointment. So while Carmen's questions may be addressed in the next one, or maybe separately to be addressed with ADOA as an HR question for the commission, I think we may be overstepping the agenda items, and I want to be really sure that we're sticking to the agenda items and following open meeting, because we need to be really careful about that, as always.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, Commissioner Wolf-Marsich.
No problem at all. This is Commissioner Bomarsich. I have two questions. One is, since Sue K. Neifel is here, I'd like to know if she's interested in the position of interim director. Can I ask her, or what's the procedure here?
I think to be fair, you can ask her because we've already asked our Deputy Director, Carmen Greensmith.
Okay. Ms. Neifel?
Thank you for asking. My answer is quite similar to Carmen's. Yes, I'm very interested. However, I would like to know really what is going on with the process. As she stated, we've not been informed of anything formally that we are no longer in consideration.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Neifel. I would suggest that we talk about the search process in the agenda item for the search process, which I believe is coming up after the discussion of the interim director, because that seems like where it belongs. The other question I had was Ms. Greensmith brought up the point about who is eligible to be a candidate for interim director. And my sense, again, from academic job searches, is that it is anyone who is interested in the position. Can someone confirm that for me? I don't think that's a legal question.
I think that's correct. It's not fully legal
That's
question.
an
but
excellent
that's my
question.
understanding.
Okay. And that's it. So wait, let me confirm that. It is anyone who puts their name forward is considered a candidate for interim director. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for your patience, Commissioner Bolmarsich. I really appreciate it. I'm seeing several hands raised. Let's start with Sherry Collins, then Commissioner Herron, and then our ADOA rep, Estella Cunningham. Sherry?
I'm one of those people. Hello, everybody. I have the internet issues, so if I sign, it'll get real blurry. I was prepared to do that, so I apologize. I want to bring Brian from ADOA, if Stella, oh, she is here. Stella and I talked about this early on. The interim director must be somebody internally. Stella, can you confirm that, please?
Yes, Stella, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get off of video. I hope I'm off now. Yeah, so I did want to, first say before answering Sherry's question is that, they should be qualified, right? That's something that we want to make sure of, right? That they should be qualified. And, interim directors are typically internal. And they would be placed on a special assignment, and there's a process and an approval process for that. And part of that is, looking at qualifications, things like that, if there's any special duty pay for it. So that would definitely be part of the process. We have seen at other boards where you have temporary directors hired for certain periods of time, but that's not really considered an interim director, right? That's kind of like a temporary assignment, and they're hired into that position. Really what Sherry's talking about is we're really looking at interim, whereas, a special assignment, that's typically what we look at here with the state, and that's our preferred process.
Thank you, Stella. I appreciate that clarification. Commissioner Herron. Finally, my
Okay.
camera's working. Sorry about that. I have a huge concern. I feel like we're putting the cart before the horse. We haven't determined which of those individuals who applied in the first round will be eligible to apply for the second search process. We haven't made that determination. And then secondly, we haven't decided whether the interim director will be allowed to apply for the executive director position. So we don't have, without those answers, it's difficult to determine who will be chosen as the interim director. We want to be fair to the individuals who want the opportunity to try again. If it is agreed, they may do so. So if they're an interim director, they have to know whether or not they will then be allowed to apply for the executive director position in the next round. That's my concern. This is Commissioner Sanko. I will let our AAG make a comment in response. Elise, it looks like you're frozen.
We are not having a good
This is
technology day.
This is Commissioner Sanko. To be fair, if it makes you feel any better, my camera was wonky today too. I was so frustrated. I had another meeting prior to this and it kept clicking off on me. So I understand everybody's pain and frustration with our technology issues. Elise, we're unable to see you. So I'm not sure if you can speak. I'm wondering if you can unmute your mic and we'll be able to hear you. Yikes. Elise, I'm wondering if you want to try to log off and log back in again. While we're waiting for Elise to figure out her technology challenges, let's move to Commissioner Bolmarsich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Commissioner Bomarsich. It sounded to me like Commissioner Herron's questions could also be answered by the ADOA representatives. Is that possible?
Ella and Brian, is that possible? Are you able to jump in on those questions?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I understood exactly. Is the question who can be considered an interim director? Is that exactly what the question is? Basically, who would be, you're asking who could be considered for an interim director? Is that what you're asking?
That
Actually,
this is Commissioner Herron. This is a separate question. We have 3 issues on the table. One is who is able or who is eligible for the interim director role. The second one would be, do we now know that the person who becomes that interim director would then also be eligible to apply for the executive director position? And then the third question is, I lost my train of thought. What is the third question? Are they eligible to apply? It might just be the 2, basically those 2 questions.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. Sorry, Brian, I'll go ahead and answer this really quick and then you can add. So really, anybody that's qualified can be considered and could be up for consideration for interim director, but it really should be your most qualified candidate. And that's really who you should be looking at. Who is your most qualified candidate for the position? And if you are to open the position again, which it sounds like that's what's been voted on, then you can, anybody can reapply for the position. Yeah, Brian, did you have anything to add to that?
No, you pretty much nailed it. I mean, our recommendation is always to hire the best qualified candidate, whether it's interim, and the interim is basically you're looking at internal people because, like Stella said, that's a special assignment for a state employee. So that's what we would recommend there. And then yes, depending on what happens with the executive search, whether you reopen it, then everybody can apply. Yes, whether they're the interim director or not, and or if you use an executive search firm, same thing. That's all I have.
Thank you, Stella and Brian. We appreciate your insight. Commissioner Herron, do you mind waiting for just a moment? I want to ensure that we have Elise with us. And we want to ensure that her tech challenges have been resolved. Elise, are you still here with us?
I'm trying to be. Can you hear
Okay.
me? Or so to speak?
We can hear you. Well, I can't hear you, obviously, but the interpreters can hear you.
I think I'm freezing again, so um
Are you able to hear us? I think as long as the interpreters can hear you, we're still good.
okay. Can you hear me?
Can you hear the interpreter, Elise? We can hear you.
Okay. You can't hear her speaking. I can hear the interpreter. But just so you know, I've got the little spinning wheel so coming in and out. Unless there's like a phone number I can call, Kyla, let me know. Otherwise, yes, I'm here for at least a minute or two at
This
a
is
time.
Kyla. Elise, I will go ahead and just email over a phone number to you just in case you get disconnected.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
So, where were we?
Yes, this is Commissioner Sanko. Would you like to add anything?
I missed the last few minutes, so I'm
So
not.
ADOA did, okay, so ADOA did provide some guidance on the questions. We didn't know if there was anything else you would like to add.
I would probably have deferred to ADOA on that regardless. So, I am sure we can just leave it there as long as we're still staying on track with the agenda.
Great. This is Commissioner Sanko. Thank you.
Do you want me to say it's 9 o'clock in?
We appreciate your input.
Yeah.
I see Commissioner Cohen has his hand raised. So Commissioner Cohen. And then Commissioner Herron, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
This is Commissioner Herron. I have gotten a little out of sorts trying to figure out where I'm at, but let's see if I can get my train back on the tracks. So as I understand it, what I want to know is how to handle that interim director position. Do we just select someone, nominate that person, put their names forward, vote, and pass the vote for the person? Do we have to implement a procedure in order to garner interest, collect interest letters from individuals, and then have a small committee to filter through those and make a recommendation for the board for approval? I think I want to clarify the procedural part before we have any other further discussions on other issues. So that my recommendation is, as we are open to those folks who are interested, then we collect their interest letters by whatever date, January something. Should it be the 15th? Let's see, today's the 15th. So I would say perhaps, let's see, Friday might be too soon, Monday, to gather the interest, and then we can make a quick determination, have a meeting to appoint that interim individual before Sherry leaves. That is my main concern right now.
Thank you for that feedback and suggestion and expressing your concerns. I'd like the other commissioners to be able to comment as well. We have several people on deck. Commissioner Cohen, then Commissioner Kidd, and then Commissioner Bulmarsich. Commissioner Cohen?
Yes, this is Andrew speaking. Okay. So now I am noticing that we are kind of jumping around a bit, and I want to just get back and focus on the point that Carmen and Sue K are questioning their status as applicants at this point, and I totally understand that. And I'm sure that that can be addressed in the next agenda item or when we regard the search, when we talk about the search. So that would be on hold at this point. So now we need to get back to the first agenda item for interim director. So for me, the larger view would be that Carmen currently is the deputy director. She's been involved for many years. And so it would make sense for her to be interim. She is already willing to do so. And that would be probably a great kickoff. So I would like to go ahead and state that I would like to make a motion to choose Carmen Green as the interim director until the posting and the hiring of the full-time director.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Cohen.
This is AHH.
Before we,
Clarify the motion. Could we clarify the
okay, I
motion?
see that.
Yeah, could we clarify the motion that it's still the
Sure.
hiring?
So I'm sorry, I make a motion to choose Carmen Green as our interim director for the time being until a director has been chosen. Is that the correct phrasing you'd like?
Yeah, I think that's fine. We just want to be really clear. So I appreciate that, Commissioner Cohen.
Okay, thank you.
This is Commissioner Cienko. We have a motion on the floor. That motion is to select Carmen Green Smith as the interim director.
This is Commissioner Kidd. Point of order, we have to, can you say it again, please? We have to, Commissioner Herron had a motion on the floor already. Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Herron. I don't want some, I'm a little bit confused right now because I already have a motion on the floor, and I was waiting for a resolution for that, and now we have another motion on the floor. So I think that is where it comes back to the point of what is the procedure for selecting an interim director. I'm not sure that we're ready to put forward names yet. So are we able to clarify? I need some clarity on the procedure before we even accept and move forward with that motion. I would thank you.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you. The challenging part of having a virtual meeting is we're not sure if people are making a motion or if they're just being part of the discussion. So since Commissioner Herron has a motion on the floor, before we move forward with Commissioner Cohen's motion. We have to hear from the other commissioners. I'm not sure if they would like to comment or discuss Commissioner Herron's motion or Commissioner Cohen's motion. We just need to clarify that.
A clarification for Commissioner Herron. I do want to clarify. Oh, sorry. I completely overlooked that. I'll hold. Sorry.
That's not a problem.
I did try, but I waited for someone else wasn't clarifying and for everyone to have an opportunity to discuss this, Commissioner Herron. So before I proceeded with my motion, if you want to make that motion, I do respect that your desire to make that motion, but I already did have a motion to make as well.
This is Commissioner Cienko. To be fair to Commissioner Herron, and also Commissioner Cohen mentioned, we are speaking on many different topics at the same time. Before we move forward, I would like to ask Commissioner Kidd and Commissioner Bolmarsich, do you want to discuss something or do you have something to say in regards to the motions on the table? Commissioner Kidd said I have something to discuss. Commissioner Bolmarsich?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Commissioner Bomarsich. I do have points about both motions on the floor, if I'm keeping track of the motions correctly. For Commissioner Herron's motion to form a small search committee to go through candidates for the interim director, I would say I think this slows down this process even more. We need clarity. Waiting until next week would give this person less than 2 weeks to get into the job. I think we're all very familiar with Carmen Smith and Sue K. Knifel's qualifications. And I think we all also are familiar with Nikki Supa as well. This is why interim people tend to be internal people. So I would be against deferring the process any further. My second point is about voting procedure. How are we voting? Are we doing it as we did last time, in which people gave names or abstained, or are we going to do it by candidate? And in which case, if we do it by names, then what carries? Because I think there are 9 commissioners here, so it would be a plurality that carry the votes.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you, Commissioner Bolmarsich. After hearing your comment, I've been thinking out of respect to both commissioners, I think it's important to have a dialogue and a conversation about this first so that we can hear different perspectives. So Commissioner Cohen said that we have been jumping around in our discussion. I'd like to refocus our discussion on selecting an interim director from a person internal to ACDHH. We have 3 individuals who have expressed interest in becoming the interim director. Let's keep that in mind. Commissioner Bolmarsich also shared that it's critical to focus on the selection of the interim director due to the time constraints. If we were to collect information and then look at the names and drew it out, it would really slow down the process. And I have to agree with that personally. So it's important to keep our time constraints in mind. Commissioner Herron, who wants to ensure that we have a process in place for this interim director position, again, is something else to keep in mind and to consider as we move forward. So I'm hoping that clarifies what we've been discussing thus far and brings us back to the point. Commissioner Herron.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to clarify that I'm not recommending a process. I just think that things are all askew and not entirely clear. So I had a question regarding whether there is a formal process in place. And it does sound like the folks want to appoint someone today. So how do we go about deciding which person? We have options before us right now, so we can go ahead and put forward names and discuss those names and make a decision about that person. Do an amendment, make changes to the names as amended, or we can put forward the 3 individuals that have been mentioned so far that who we consider the most qualified internal persons, and then we can discuss our make motions for those, and then vote in the same manner and appoint the person who wins the majority vote for that position. I just think that we need to be clear about what we're doing, about what our process is, to make sense of our proposal, our motions, and our discussions.
Thank you, Commissioner Herron, for that clarification. Commissioner Cohen, you have your camera on. Did you want to add to that discussion? And then Commissioner Goodstein, you'll be next. Yes, Commissioner
Okay.
Cohen.
This is Commissioner Cohen. Okay, I would like to withdraw my recent motion, and I would like to substitute it with a new motion to address everyone's concerns. So I would like to move that we vote on 3 candidates, that we do a round robin vote, a roll call vote on 3 candidates, Nikki Sukup, Sue Kneifel, and Carmen Green for interim director. If someone seconds that, then maybe we can open a discussion and then do a roll call and move forward with that vote. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Stanko. I want to make sure, so you just made a formal motion?
Correct, withdrawing the other motion.
Okay.
Substituting that motion, that we do go ahead and vote on 3 names for interim director. That would be Carmen Green, Suke Kneifel, and Nikki. Sorry, I'm missing your last name, but Nikki. If we get a second, then that would lead to more discussion, and then we can move on to the vote.
This is Commissioner Stanko. So you're saying someone would move, I move that so-and-so becomes the interim director. We have a second and then we move it to discussion?
No, I'm sorry, that would drag things out too much. I think that we go ahead and have a discussion and put forward a name and then move forward with the vote.
Okay, we'll go to, right, okay. So each commissioner would say who they would like to move forward for the interim director position, and then we will move from there. Okay, so my apologies to Commissioner Goodstein. Before you speak, I would like to recognize our AHG because I'm assuming she has a comment on this process now that she's sharing her video.
I'm trying to share my video. I'm using the phone for audio, hoping that'll keep my internet a little bit freer. So can you hear me, interpreters? Okay. So I don't actually
Yes, we can.
know what the motion was. I've been running around trying to get on. So are you guys moving to make a vote?
This is Commissioner Cienko. Yes, we have a motion on the floor, but we do have another commissioner who would like to add a comment, who's had their hand up for a minute. So is it
Okay, then
okay if
I'll
we
wait
move forward
until-
with hearing that, commissioners? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Commissioner Cienko. Commissioner Goodstein.
This is Commissioner Goodstein. I have 2 or 3 things. My first comment is I don't really understand what the problem is with Nikki Sukup and Carmen and Suke not receiving formal notice. They were at the meeting and they knew that we were not voting for them as director. And as Elise Phelan has mentioned, and we've agreed to move forward, that's what we will be doing today. In regards to Commissioner Cohen's motion, I do not believe that that motion is appropriate. Normally, we would be ready to make a decision on the interim executive director, and we would nominate individuals, then have a discussion, and then move forward with a vote. Whereas Commissioner Cohen's motion is us voting for acclamation.
Acclamation.
And further, no one has seconded that motion quite yet, and here we are discussing it. So I think it's best if we move forward with a nomination, a name for interim executive director, and then we can have a discussion, and that'll be the question of plurality or majority or what it may be.
Thank you, Commissioner Goodstein. Remember, this motion is still on the floor, and Commissioner Cohen was willing to hold that motion in order to hear your comment. Commissioner Kidd, I see your hand is raised, but our AAG does want to say something, so I would like to turn the floor over to her.
Sorry, I'm trying to mute or unmute my phone, so let me know what you can hear or when you can't. I just wanted to clarify what the motion is that Commissioner Goodstein is responding to. Is that the one that I heard before I fell off the face of the earth?
Yes, it has to do with Commissioner Cohen's motion.
Okay. What is Sorry, I actually muted myself. Could you, I'm so sorry. Could you just repeat the motion if you wouldn't mind? Running around has caused my forgetting a little bit.
This is Commissioner Cienko, completely understandable. I will let Commissioner Cohen restate the motion. I think that he would be the best person to restate it for you. So Commissioner Cohen, do you mind? If you could come on and restate your motion so that our AAG can get back on track with us.
Okay, yes. So this is Commissioner Cohen. I move to do a round of voting, roll call on 3 current names: Carmen Green, Suke Kneifel, and Nikki, for the position of interim director. On the back side of that, I was thinking that if someone did second that, then we could move into discussions regarding pros and cons of each. And then at the end, have the ultimate vote and have to see which one would be chosen. And we would go around and collect those votes via roll call. Hopefully that clarifies things.
Is that all one motion?
Is Commissioner Cienko? Yes, that was his motion.
So is your motion, just so I understand, I'm writing notes, to nominate 3 individuals, do a roll call vote, and discuss each of them prior to the roll call vote? Sorry. Do I have that right?
This is Commissioner Cienko. From what I understand is he wants us to do a round robin. Each person will say who we think should be interim director, and then if someone seconds that, it could lead to a discussion.
Okay, if that's the motion, then okay.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Okay. Commissioner Kidd has seconded that motion. All in favor? Should we do a roll call vote? I'm seeing many hands. Kyla, do you mind doing a roll call vote?
Sorry, I think Commissioner Williams might have had something to say.
No, I'm sorry. I thought my name was called.
Oh, okay. Well, how do you
I'm-
vote? We'll get your vote while you're here then. Or not. Okay. Commissioner Herron?
So that means that I'm going to say which candidate I prefer of the 3?
No, right now, do you accept the motion that Commissioner Cohen has on the floor? Right now, you're just voting on that motion.
I'm uncomfortable with that. I think it's still more confusing for me, so I oppose it.
Commissioner
Okay,
Kidd?
this is Commissioner Cienko. Commissioner Kidd, did you want to say something?
As I said previously, that we approve this motion, but then it goes into discussion before it goes onto the table, right? Is that the easiest way that we can identify? Okay, then I agree to
That
that,
was my
yes, to have a
intent.
discussion. Have a discussion of those 3 candidates. Yeah.
Great. Sounds good.
Yeah, this is Commissioner
Cienko.
Cohen. That's my intention.
Commissioner Venkatesh?
Yes, I approve the motion.
Commissioner O'Rourke? You're muted.
Well, I was not, but yes,
Yes? Okay.
for the 3rd time.
Commissioner Cinco? Commissioner
Yes.
Thompson?
Yeah.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Goodstein?
Finally, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Commissioner Cohen, hopefully he's still around, Sister Commissioner Cohen. Okay.
Commissioner
And
Cohen, are
then
you here?
Last
Yes.
but not least, Commissioner Bolmarsich.
Yes.
Yes. And this is Commissioner Sanko. It seems that we have everyone who's here voted, Kyla, so the motion carries. Thank you. So now we are open for the discussion of the three individuals who have come forward and expressed interest in becoming the interim director. Those individuals are Carmen Green Smith, Sue K. Kneifel, and Nikki Sukup. Let's open the floor for discussion. Commissioner O'Rourke.
Commissioner Chairman, this is Commissioner O'Rourke. I suggest that we have, and maybe asking with the AG, hard limit on this discussion. It's already 3:06, and we're still on looking at the discussion for the acting director. You mentioned we had some work to be done at this meeting, and I fear that it's not going to be accomplished. I think that all three people that have been put forward are appropriate and capable to be interim directors, and I would feel comfortable going ahead and having a vote.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Rourke, for your input. Commissioner, I have to agree with you. Time is of the essence. It is 3:07. I would like to ask the board, when you bring something for discussion, please be brief. Be considerate of others' time. I think it's important to consider the community's needs as well. Sherry Collins is leaving, and we do need someone to be the face of the agency. It's important to consider all of these things, in addition to the qualifications and skills of all three people who have expressed interest. Commissioner Herron, you popped up for me first, then Commissioner Goodstein, and then Commissioner Bolmarsich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is Diana Herron, and I was appointed by the governor to represent the deaf community. I think that I want to continue with the same message that has been carried from the interview process until now, which is that we want to select a person who represents our community, the community that we serve. And for that reason, as you said, all of those three names that were put forward are qualified candidates. I would recommend Nikki Sukup as the interim director, as a person who can represent the community that we are serving. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Herron. Commissioner Goodstein. I know that you're having some issues with your camera. Okay, great.
I suggest that we close the debate and just move forward with a vote. I do want to clarify, are we going based on majority or plurality for this vote?
Thank you for your question. I believe it's a majority vote.
Yes,
I'm
it's a majority
seeing
vote.
more
Thank you.
hands. Okay, so Elise has confirmed it is a majority vote. So I want to remind the board members, when you raise your hand, videos move around, so please be patient with me as I determined. I feel like this is a one-man show today. I see Commissioner Bull Marsich and then Commissioner Kidd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Commissioner Bomarsich. I wanted to report to the board that I've just received an email from Michelle Michaels in which she says, I would like to be considered for the position of interim director at ACDHH, and I am also interested in the executive director position. Michelle is the hearing healthcare program manager. Therefore, she meets the qualification of being an internal candidate for interim director. And since we have not closed nominations, I nominate that her name be added to the names that we're voting for. Thank you. That's it.
Before anything else, I believe Commissioner Cohen's motion was to be between these three, so we'd have to revise the motion.
All right, I move to amend Commissioner Cohen's motion so that there are 4 names. That is a formal motion.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner
Commissioner Cohen.
Cohen here. I would like to decline that motion.
I'm sorry, what does declining a motion mean?
It would mean that I do not accept the amendment to my motion.
I
So
don't
we would
believe
need
you
to
have-
make a separate motion regarding this.
I'm
That's
sorry,
just how
I-
I would understand Robert's Rules of Order.
I don't think that you have the authority to reject an amendment to your motion, but I will do this. I move that the following 4 names be put into consideration. Carmen Green Smith, Sue K. Neifel, Nikki Sukup, and Michelle Michaels for the position of interim director at ACDHH.
For clarification, you need to, if we're going to put another motion out there, we're going to have to withdraw the first one, just to stay on track.
Well, the first one was voted on already. And it
Point of
passed.
procedure, this
Sorry.
is Commissioner Herron, point of procedure.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Okay.
Okay,
We've
thank you for
already
clarifying,
made
Commissioner
movement
Bull-Martin.
on. So this is Commissioner Cienko. Commissioner Cohen, as the chair, I mean, I understand that you did not accept the amendment, but as the chair, well, the thing is, we already had a motion for those 3 candidates. We already voted on that motion. It passed, and we're in discussion for that motion. So with that, I'm feeling confused that we're already moving forward with discussion on a motion that was passed. I believe that we need to, I don't know if we can add in the middle of the process an additional name.
Parliamentary procedure, this is Commissioner Herron, parliamentary procedure she's making an amendment to the first motion, and she does have the right to make an amendment. What we would do is have a vote to accept that the amendment to the motion. And if that is passed by vote, then we can have a discussion of the 4 candidates. If that vote fails, then we would go back to the original discussion of those 3 candidates.
Okay, this is Commissioner Cienko.
But it also has to be seconded, just so you know.
And this is Commissioner Kidd. But
Commissioner Kidd?
it has also not been seconded. If it's not seconded, then it dies. It does require a second.
This is Commissioner Cienko. I'm seeing many hands.
Who seconded Commissioner Cohen's motion in the first place?
Commissioner Kidd seconded Commissioner Cohen's.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Now, may I second Heron's motion, if that makes sense?
Actually, Commissioner Herron did not make a motion.
This is Commissioner Herron. No, we need, yes. We need to second that amendment.
But Diana's right. Commissioner Bolmarsich can make an amendment, and Commissioner Cohen does not have the authority to deny that. So I second Commissioner Bolmarsich's amendment to the original motion to add Michelle Michaels as a name to the pool.
Thank you, Commissioner Goodstein. So Sarah's or Commissioner Bolmarsich's motion to amend the original motion has been seconded. That amendment is to add Michelle Michaels' name to the candidates who are eligible for interim
And
director.
this is Commissioner Herron, and then we need to vote on the amendment.
Kyla is saying we have one more name in the chat that has been added for consideration. This is Commissioner Cienko. Okay. Okay, we have a 5th name. I was just notified that Robin Vorick would like to add his name to the list of those considered for the interim director position. So I want to remind the board that we have an active motion on the floor that was made by Commissioner Bolmarsich to amend the original motion made by Commissioner Cohen. That amendment is to recognize Michelle Michaels and add her name to the potential nominees for the interim director position. And then Commissioner Goodstein seconded Commissioner Bolmarsich's motion to amend the original motion. I believe that the board is in favor of adding Michelle's names. So now we have an additional, we need to call for the
But we
vote.
do need to vote on the amendment.
Okay, so we're voting on the amendment. Thank you so much, Commissioner Herron, for your help. Kyla, do you mind doing a roll call vote for the motion on the amendment?
Madam Chair, before the motion goes to a vote, can I amend it?
I believe
Yes,
that since it's been seconded, you have to withdraw it and make a new motion.
All right, I withdraw the motion and include, what was the 5th name? Robert Vorak?
Robin. Let me get the spelling. I want to make sure that I'm doing that correctly. It is Robin Vorick.
All right, in the interest of inclusivity.
Robin or Robert?
Okay.
Robin,
Okay.
R-O-B-I-N.
Rob.
Okay. All right, in the interest of inclusivity, I move that
And
the
I-
vote be
I
between,
second that.
thank you, those 5 candidates.
Thank you, Commissioner Bolmarsich. So now we have a motion for an amendment to the original motion to include 2 additional names for a total of 5 candidates to be considered for interim director. Carmen Greensmith, Sue K. Kneifel, Nikki Sukup, Michelle Michaels, and Robin Vorick. So those are the names. Do we have a second?
And this is Commissioner Heron. We should have a vote on the amendment first and then go back to that first motion to vote on the entire motion. I think roll call is not, we just need a quick vote. We don't need a roll call for that one, and then we can go back to discussion of the full 5 candidates.
Okay, so let's vote on the motion to amend the original motion to add those 2 additional names. Let's vote on that.
Commissioner
Kidd
Kidd said I
says-
oppose.
Commissioner Heron, this is
Excuse
Commissioner
me,
Heron.
has
Aye.
it been seconded? This is Elise.
Has it been seconded?
This is Commissioner Heron. You have Goodson second to the amendment,
Goodstein.
but we have we have to do the additional ones, and then we have to go back to vote on the original one as amended. So we have to vote on the amendment and then go back to the original motion as amended.
Commissioner Goodstein seconded both my motions. Or amendments. So yes, it has been seconded.
This is Elise. Thanks for clarifying. And I think that all you guys, since it's an amendment, I think all you need to do is vote on the amendment because the last one was withdrawn. So you just need to vote on this one, the current one.
Okay. So let's go ahead and vote on the amendment. Do we want to do a roll call vote for the amendment, Kyla?
Sure. Commissioner Heron,
Aye.
Commissioner Kidd,
RJ, are you here, Commissioner Kidd?
Okay.
Let's come back to him.
I'll come back to him. Commissioner Venkatesh,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Yes.
Commissioner Cinco, Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Yeah. Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodstein,
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen, Commissioner
Yes.
Bolmarsich, and then back to Commissioner
Yes.
Kidd.
Commissioner Kidd?
Okay, there.
I apologize. I had something going on. So for this amendment, I'm voting for the amendment, right? Nay.
Thank you. So The majority accepts the amendment. Now we need to open a discussion about the 5 individuals who have come forward to be considered as the interim director. Those individuals are Carmen Greensmith, Sue K. Kneifel, Nikki Sukup, Michelle Michaels, and Robin Vorick. So we are open for discussion. Commissioner Kidd.
So I would like to just to start with a concern about how this procedure has gone. We had already selected interim director candidates, and that now we have additional ones popping up, and I don't even know the qualifications of the other two. So I think that this is not the proper way to process this. I do wish that we had our special meeting last week, but it had to be canceled for legal advice. So I believe that it might be a waste of time. To the point, I would move that we select one of those 3 candidates because we know who they are. We have actually 2 of those candidates because whatever the qualifications, we are not aware of their history. We're not aware of their what those qualifications are. We have not vetted them yet. So that is my perspective.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you for sharing your comments. I would like to recognize a representative from ADOA, Stella Cunningham.
Hi, yes, I did want to just kind of reiterate that, an interim director should, meet the KSAs and the statutory requirements. And so, I really just want to reiterate that. And so, going into a vote, I'm not sure what we or you all know about the other applicants. Typically their resume to review. And again, I also want to reiterate that, it is, recommended that the board really just choose who they believe the best candidate. This is an interim director. They're not in a role here. They would more than likely be placed in a special assignment. And it is really the discretion of the board to choose who they want to be, interim director or permanent director. And so that's all I have to say.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you, Stella. Stella just made a very good point, and I do agree with you. Out of the 5 candidates who expressed interest to be considered for the interim director position, 4 out of the 5 have gone through the first round of interviews. They've already been screened and they met the minimum requirements or qualifications from our HR representative's standpoint. So that's something to keep in the back of our mind as we move forward with discussion. Commissioner Bolmarsich, the floor is yours.
I actually agree with Commissioner Kidd's statement. This is Commissioner Bolmarsich. I know Michelle Michaels, for instance, but I can understand why other representatives who don't represent the hard of hearing population would not. And so now that we have 5 candidates and not 3 candidates who everybody knows quite well, I think I'd like to go back to Commissioner Herron's earlier idea of more vetting, especially for the 2 newest candidates. I don't want to propose that because this has dragged on a long time and it's increasingly fraught for everybody involved. But that's my proposal. I move that we defer the decision until we can get resumes from the 2 new candidates.
This is Commissioner Cienko, Commissioner Kidd, Commissioner O'Rourke, and then Commissioner Cohen.
So did Commissioner Bomarczyk make a motion?
No.
So I move that we set another special meeting in 5 days to get all of the 5 candidates' resumes, process that, and move that agenda item number 1 to that special meeting. Only no other items of business on that agenda for that meeting except for that, so that we can be sure that we can move on to the other things that need to be addressed today. This is Commissioner Hare. We have a motion on the floor already, so we can't divert from that. We do have to address that. We have to go back to that. So that if we're asking to get applications, or what are we asking for specifically, we need to finish with this motion that's already on the floor.
This is Elise. You can table the motion.
Okay, yes.
Commissioner Kidd
Sorry,
said
you
thank
can't
you.
table the motion, you can table the vote, right?
Okay, then I would like to change the
Sorry, would
language
you
I just
please-
used.
Sorry, the language is getting confused. We're gonna clarify from here, the language.
Okay, this is Assistant Attorney General Victoria Bergen. Could you clarify for us the motion that you see is currently on the table?
I believe it's my mission to defer this decision until the committee has been able to review the qualifications of the 2 new candidates, since we don't know them. And I think Commissioner Kidd might speak it better. Go ahead.
I believe there was some reference, and I think this is where we're not clear. There was some statement regarding there was another motion already on the table prior to the one you just referred to. That's where I'm needing clarification.
Yes, this is Commissioner Kidd. Commissioner Bomarczyk had a motion to select out of those 5 candidates, have a discussion regarding selecting from the 5 candidates that have been put forward. I'm not certain of the phrasing of that, but that is the gist of what is on the table. So my motion currently that is tabled is to table that motion and have a special meeting within 5 days. In 5 days, is that the correct approach?
Okay, what we need to do first is handle correct me if I'm wrong, because we've had various motions and we're just trying to clarify where we're at. My understanding is that there is currently a motion on the table to consider the 5 candidates. Has that motion been seconded? Just that motion?
Yes.
Okay, was that motion, is it my understanding, has not been voted on yet?
No.
Okay, so that motion either needs to be withdrawn or voted on prior to getting to the motion to table. Let's deal with that one first and clarify that in motion. And then we can move on to the one to table.
This is Commissioner Herron. My understanding is that you can table a motion at any time. Am I understanding incorrectly?
This is Commissioner Cienko.
Well, we need to either withdraw that first motion regarding the 5 individuals, which I don't believe has been, I think my understanding was seconded, not been voted on. I think to keep the process clear, going forward, that we should either handle that motion alone by either withdrawing that motion or taking a vote on that, and then moving into a motion to table the discussion to another meeting. But I think in order to clarification on where the board is at, we should first deal with that motion and then move on to a motion whether you want to table the discussion. I think that's going to create a better and clearer record of your meeting going forward.
Okay, this is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you so much for that clarification from our AAG. I would like to say something before we move on. It is important that we identify who will become our interim director. I want everyone to keep in mind that Kyla and ACDHH staff have worked hard to arrange accommodations for this meeting, including finding interpreters and finding a cart provider, and everything that's been handled on the technology side to make this meeting happen. Remember, Sherry Collins is leaving her position on the 31st of this month, and I would like to keep the current motion that we have on the table to vote on one of those 5 candidates. I would rather we make a decision on this tonight. We can't put this off any longer. We've been putting it off long enough already. Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and take a vote on this motion that's on the floor. We'll start with Commissioner Cohen. Go ahead, Commissioner Cohen.
This is Commissioner Cohen. 2 things. So Commissioner Markjack, I am sorry that I did misunderstand those parliament procedures and making that motion and then denying your amendment. I do apologize, and I want to state that. And then moving on, I think we are making this too complicated. So this is a temporary position. This is going to be for a few months. That is all. Okay, so my motion did include, the purpose of that was to have an open discussion and discuss each person if possible, and we could see everyone's opinion regarding that. Not tabling it and moving on to another meeting. I'd like to move forward and get this taken care of in this meeting. Let's have a discussion and let's have a vote. And that is my ultimate point. It's 3:35 at this point right now. So I would highly encourage us to close this discussion and move forward with a vote. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Let's move forward with the vote. And we will pick one of the 5 individuals: Carmen Green Smith, Suke Kneifel, Nikki Sukup, Michelle Michaels, and Robin Vorick. Please be mindful of HR's advice that has been given to us today. All of the individuals have been screened by HR when they have first applied for the position. Suke Kneifel, Carmen Green Smith, Robin Vorick, and Nikki Sukup. All of them went through the first round of interviews and they have been vetted by our ADOA representative. So you keep that in mind as well. Let's move forward with whomever would like to vote on picking the interim director. As was just said, this individual will be working in a temporary position as the face of the agency. while we work to open up or reopen the executive director search process.
This is Elise. I just want to clarify, are you voting on which person, or are you voting on Commissioner Bolmarsich's?
No, the one to. Are you voting on the motion that was made to consider the 5 candidates as opposed to the 3? Is that the motion you're voting on right now?
We're
My
voting on the
understanding
5 candidates.
The 5 candidates themselves?
This is Commissioner Cienko. It was already voted to accept the 5 candidates. So the amendment was already
okay.
passed.
Okay, thank you. That's what we needed.
Thank you. Since we're just on the phone, it's getting a little confusing. So I really appreciate you guys being so helpful and clarifying.
This is Commissioner Cienko. I completely understand. We appreciate your patience and thank you so much. Commissioner Kidd.
So I move that we start voting to choose the interim director now.
And this is Commissioner Cienko. I second that motion.
I second that. This is Commissioner Goodstein.
Commissioner Goodstein, thank you. I already seconded it. I appreciate that. I know that you're having issues with your camera, so I recognize that Commissioner Goldstein also seconded the motion. Okay, let's move forward with the vote. When we vote, does each individual say who they would select as the interim director?
That would be my proposal. This is Commissioner Cohen.
Commissioner Kidd, agreed.
Okay, so thank you both, Commissioner Cohen and Commissioner Kidd, for helping me. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you, RJ. So we have a motion that we're going to move to the vote. And it's been seconded. So we need to, Commissioner Goodstein?
This is Commissioner Herron. I think we already have, oh, was it not me? I apologize.
I apologize. This is Commissioner Goodstein. I thought it was Commissioner's Kidd that we begin our voting process now. So I suggest we go person by person and say who we select as interim executive director and then tally up those votes. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you. Kyla, do you mind doing a roll call vote?
No problem at all. Commissioner Cinco, I'm going to start
And
with you.
Commissioner Goldstein, thank you so much for the guidance you just provided.
You're here.
You're starting with me? Okay. I vote for Nikki Sukup.
Commissioner Kidd.
Nikki Sukup.
Commissioner O'Rourke.
Michelle Michaels.
Commissioner Williams.
I vote for Michelle Michaels.
Commissioner Venkatesh.
Carmen Green-Smith.
Commissioner Cohen.
Carmen Green Smith.
Commissioner Bolmarsic.
I vote for Nikki Sukup.
Commissioner Thompson,
I vote for Suke Kanipa.
Commissioner Heron,
Nikki Sukup.
and then Commissioner Goodstein.
Nikki Sukup.
This is Commissioner
So-
Cienko. Kyla, do you mind giving us the total of votes?
Sure. So of all of the votes, Carmen got 2, Suke got 1, Nikki had 5, and Michelle had 2.
Thank you, Kyla.
Mhm.
We appreciate the work that you do. So the majority vote is Nikki Sukup. So she has been voted as the interim director for the Arizona Commission for
Can
the
we
Deaf
just-
and Hard of Hearing. Commissioner
I think I may
Bolmarsich?
have missed one. Would you mind doing another tally? I want to make sure how many people voted for each one, make sure there's majority. I think we missed something.
Okay,
This
I
is
can go
Commissioner
down the
Cienko. Of
list.
course, Kyla.
So I had Commissioner Cinco as voting for Nikki, Commissioner Kidd voting for Nikki, Commissioner O'Rourke voting for Michelle Michaels, Commissioner Williams voting for Michelle Michaels, Commissioner Venkatesh voting for Carmen, Commissioner Cohen voting for Carmen, Commissioner Bolmarsich voting for Nikki, Commissioner Thompson voting for Suke, Commissioner Heron voting for Nikki, and Commissioner Goodstein voting for Nikki. Am I missing anybody out of that group?
So how many what is your tally for Nikki?
5. She had 5 votes
Out of how many? 10?
out of 10. Mhm.
That is not a majority.
There has to be at least 6 for one of
Okay.
these individuals to have won.
Okay.
So we need a
So
runoff. Commissioner Heron, we need a runoff. I move that the top 2 who got the most votes, that we do a runoff and choose from those.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you. Commissioner Bolmarsich?
Commissioner Heron's correct, as I was going to say, we need to have a runoff. We cannot do the top 2 votes because 2 candidates, Carmen Smith and Michelle Michaels, tied. So it would have to be 3 candidates. So I move that we have a second vote, a runoff contest between, in which the candidates are Carmen Greensmith, Nikki Sukup, and Michelle Michaels.
Commissioner Kidd, I second that. Okay, so let's move forward with the vote for the runoff.
Okay.
So Kyla, do you mind?
Yeah, we'll start again with you, Commissioner Cinco,
Nikki?
Commissioner Kidd,
Nikki,
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Michelle Michaels.
Commissioner Williams,
Michelle Michaels.
Commissioner Venkatesh,
Nikki.
Commissioner Cohen,
Carmen Green.
Commissioner Bolmarsich,
Nikki,
Commissioner Thompson,
Carmen Green.
Commissioner Heron,
Nikki,
and Commissioner Goodstein.
Nikki.
We're kind of still in the same boat. There are still only 5 votes for.
Let me read off what I have. Could you read off Kyla, could you read off what you have? Because I have writing it down that there was a majority for Nikki, so
Sure,
let's compare.
sure. Okay, so I've got Commissioner Cinco for Nikki, Commissioner Kidd for Nikki, Commissioner O'Rourke for Michelle Michaels, Commissioner Williams for Michelle Michaels, Commissioner Venkatesh for Carmen. I'm sorry, for Nikki, Commissioner Cohen for Carmen, Commissioner Bulmarsich for Nikki, Commissioner Thompson for Carmen, Commissioner Herron for Nikki, and Commissioner Goodstein for Nikki.
That is 6 for Nikki,
Okay.
so that's the majority.
All right, cool.
Thank you so much, Kyla.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you, Kyla, and thank you, Elise, for helping to guide us through this process. So we have a majority who have voted for the runoff. I'd like to officially recognize Nikki Sukup as being chosen as the interim director for the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. Okay. Congratulations, Nikki. It is 3:51. So we're running out of time. The remaining items on the agenda are to open a search for the executive director position, as well as officer elections and future dates for the 2025 meetings. Before we wrap up for the day, I would like to allow Sherry Collins to share some final words.
I would rather sign.
I prefer to sign, but the wonky internet and the time. Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you. I've worked with some of you for a short time who just recently came on the board. And I want to thank you for your service that you just joined. And for those who I have worked with for a while, thank you for your service on the board. And it's been a pleasure working with all of you and the past board members for almost, well, 26 and a half, almost 27, 26 and a half years. And I'm really looking forward to it. Today is day number 14 until I retire. And I have some exciting things ahead of me, and I can't wait to share that in a couple of weeks. And so the next chapter is going to be good. The agency had put me in a good position because of all the work we have done in the community, not just me, but the staff. The staff has done a phenomenal job. I mean, they make me look good too, and the agency. So I want to every single person in the office, and also previous employees who have worked over the years. So I want to thank every one of you for supporting my leadership, my vision for the community, for the state of Arizona. And I know Nikki Sukup is going to do very well because she is one of the members of the executive team, along with Carmen Green and Sue K. Kneifel. All three are great individuals. So I feel that Nikki will, carrying on as the executive team, so they all work together with me. So I'm really excited, but I just wanted to thank everybody in the community. I'm not leaving. I'll be part of the community. So, and not last but least, but Madam Sheriff Tico, thank you for the challenge you've been dealing with during this transition. I know it's been very difficult, and but thank you for your leadership, and it's been a pleasure working with you on the and our friendship too. We got to know each other as well. So and I know the board, the board, I feel like we're in a good hand. We have the full board, and you all are very vocal and you're active, and that's what is important. Your voice, your opinion, your ideas to better serve quality of service for those who are deaf and hard of hearing and deafblind and their family members. So thank you again. And it's been a pleasure. So I'm just gonna kind of wrap up and say farewell, but I'll see you around.
Okay, so now, thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for all of
Sherry.
that, Sherry. Oh. This is the AAG. Want to make sure that we have the next steps to make a motion to table the rest of this to another meeting, either scheduled or to be scheduled.
Oh. Yeah, good idea.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Yes, thank you. I would like to recognize our representative from ADOA, Stella.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to say thank you to Sherry for your years of service here to the state. So thank you. It's always a good thing. But I also wanted to share just a reminder that when an employee is placed in an interim position and special assignment, that there is some paperwork that will need to be submitted to ADOA for review. You can submit that through our team. We have a classification and compensation analyst and statewide manager that reviews those, as well as our Chief Human Resource Officer, George McNeely. I also want to remind you all, I believe Sherry's last day might be the 30th. And, you know, in the absence of a director, deputy director would be considered a de facto executive director. So I'm not sure if you've, determined a date or if that's something that'll be determined in the future for the interim. But I just wanted you all to keep that in mind as well. And that's it.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you, Stella. Yes, Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I just want to right quick say I appreciate the patience and the graciousness of Carmen Greensmith, because we were on the verge of offering her the position, and I want her to know that we still value her very highly, and I wish it could have gone a little smoother, and I hope we see more of her in the future. But I just wanted to say something on her behalf with her patience and all this. This has been a tough slog for everybody. So, Carmen Green, please come back.
Excuse me, Commissioner. I would just advise that we stick to the items on the agenda. We are getting close to discussion of items that are not agendized.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Williams, for your comments. Let's move back to the agenda items for our AAG's advice. So we need a motion to table the rest of our agenda items to the next meeting. I see Commissioner Herron.
I have a question.
Yes, and actually Sherry came on really quick. So Sherry, did you have something you'd like to add?
I'm sorry, but go back to the ADOA. You've already announced you've selected Nikki, but you need to make a quick motion to her effective date. Make sure you do that before you table, and then you have to vote to table the rest.
This is
This is
Commissioner
Commissioner Herron.
Cienko. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Herron. I move that the current interim director, Nikki Suko, the chosen interim director, Nikki Suko, begin. I wonder if we can say effective immediately, or because of training, or if she would start immediately after Sherry's departure. So February 1st. I actually need help with how to craft the motion.
This is Sherry. It would be
31st.
January 31st.
I just said to make
Okay,
it
this
effective
is-
January 30th.
Okay, I move then that the interim director, Nikki Suka, begin her role on January 30th, 2025. And this is Commissioner Kidd, I second.
Okay, this is Commissioner Cienko. The motion is that the chosen interim director, Nikki Sukup, begin that position effective January 30th, 2025, with Commissioner Kidd seconding that motion. All in favor?
Commissioner Kidd, aye.
Okay. Kyla, do we need to do a roll
Commissioner
call?
Herron, aye.
Aye. This is Commissioner Goodstein. I'm in favor of the motion.
This is Commissioner Cienko. I want to ensure that we have things correctly documented for the meeting minutes. So I would prefer to do a roll call vote. Kyla, do you mind?
Commissioner Herron,
Aye.
Commissioner Kidd, Commissioner Venkatesh,
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Cinco,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Goodstein.
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen, and then I'm just going to skip over him and go to Commissioner Bullmorsich.
Aye.
And it looks like per Zoom, we may not have him in the meeting anymore with us, but we're okay with quorum.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you. The motion carries. I will now accept a motion to table the remaining agenda items to our next meeting. And we actually should pick a meeting date. I'll start with Commissioner Herron.
I move to assign the rest of the agenda items to the next meeting, which would be, how much time do we need to coordinate the next meeting?
This is Commissioner Cienko. How much time would you need in order to get interpreters and the like?
The more time is better, but I would say at least 2 weeks, but more time is definitely better.
Okay. All right, 2 weeks then. 2 weeks is whatever 2 weeks from now is, whatever date that is.
That is the
Okay, the
29th.
Okay, I move to assign the rest of the agenda items to the February 3rd meeting, table them and move them to the February 3rd meeting to whatever time of day to be determined by vote.
So this is Commissioner Cienko. We have a motion to table the remaining agenda items to the next meeting, February 3rd. And we have, and Commissioner Kidd seconded that motion. So let's move for the vote. My brain's a bit fried here. Forgive me.
And this is Commissioner Herron. Does anyone oppose? Might be a good way to do it.
Commissioner Cienko, we're not seeing anyone in opposition. So the motion carries. You're muted,
Excuse
Commissioner O'Rourke.
me. This is Commissioner O'Rourke. How can you go ahead and schedule a meeting when we don't have proper time right here to figure out if we can be there? And what time will it be? Can't we schedule a meeting like Kyla sends out the emails to choose if we can even be there?
This is Commissioner Cienko. Absolutely.
I mean, if you did it 2 weeks from today, that would
So,
be
yeah, Commissioner Herron said to be determined. So, yes, so we will determine. The goal is to meet in 2 weeks' time, but the date and time will be sent via a Google form by Kyla to ensure availability and attendance. Commissioner Bomarsich?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Commissioner Bomarsich. I'd like to remind the board that we have a lot of other business that we haven't gotten to because we've been dealing with this, such as interpreter complaints. So I would move that we have a normal meeting very soon, let's say sometime in the month of February, to deal with our regular business and its backlog.
Where are we in the motion?
This is
Is that a new
Commissioner
motion?
Cienko.
Sorry, this is Elise. I'm getting lost again.
This is Commissioner Cienko. I will review what's happening. We have a motion to table the remaining agenda items to the next meeting. And we've agreed to meet sometime within the next 2 weeks. That was moved by Commissioner Herron, with Commissioner Kidd seconding that motion. So, and the
Okay,
vote was
thank you.
unanimously approved.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for clarifying. I appreciate it.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Yes. And there were concerns expressed about the motion. So now we're moving to Commissioner Kidd.
I also move to set another meeting on February 15th as a normal separate from the separate February 3rd meeting so that we are able to continue the quarterly basis meetings from that point for future dates to be determined, as well as the February 15th decided based upon availability.
This is Commissioner Cienko. We have a new motion on the floor, is to keep the February 3rd meeting and then have a separate meeting, which would be a typical meeting, to discuss the items that have been backlogged. And the time for that meeting will be sent out via Google form to determine the board members' availability. Do I have a second? And Commissioner Herron has seconded that motion. Commissioner Goldstein? We have a
This-
motion on the floor.
So those proposed dates that we saw earlier for February 20th, are we not going to consider those dates? Just wanted to get a point of clarification before we move forward with the vote. We had someone propose the 15th, but some dates had already been sent out, the potential 2025 meeting dates, and February 20th was the first one. Why don't we move forward with that original date? Would we then meet on the 15th and again on February 20th?
So to clarify, this is Commissioner Kidd. My motion was that 15th that week, or based on our availability. It could be the 20th within that time frame.
Got it. Okay, you meant the week of the 15th. I misunderstood. Thank you for clarifying.
This is Commissioner Cienko. Thank you. Any points of clarification or discussion? Yes, Estella.
Sorry, I know everybody's trying to get out of here, so I don't want to slow anybody down. But I just did want to make another point that, salary should be up to discussion as well. If somebody is going to if there's going to be somebody places interim director and a special assignment packet, we would want to consider the salary. I'm not sure how you all go about determining that. That's definitely not my area of expertise, but we do have guidelines once we, provide you the forms that you would definitely need to stay with, within the guidelines of, the statutes.
Within the salary range. Yeah.
Yeah.
Point of order,
This
Commissioner Kidd. We are talking about meeting dates currently. Right now, we're focused on that one topic, so we can't move off in the middle of a motion to another topic.
This is Commissioner Cienko. I agree. So our hard stop is at 4:30. I want to remind everybody we only have interpreters and access services until 4:30. I had a hard stop at 4, but I can stay a little bit longer. Okay. It's important that we respect each other's time, and hopefully we can give you some time back. We have a motion on the floor. Commissioner Herron, do you mind helping me remember your motion? We got a bit sidetracked there.
The motion was setting the meeting, and this is Commissioner Herron. We had a new topic. It was good. You're talking about Goodstein's questions about why duplicate meetings. I think he was satisfied with the explanation. So we were able to, we will take a poll about availability, but in terms of Goodstein's clarification, Commissioner Goodstein's clarification, in addition to that February 15, because of the urgency with the business that has been backlogged, that we have not been able to attend to regarding interpreter licensure issues, issues like that. That's why we're moving the time back a bit. Hopefully that answers that question.
Commissioner Cienko, thank you. I appreciate the guidance on that. And Sherry.
Because if we can do real quick, I need at least advice and Stella on the transition with Nikki on the salary. Is it okay if the board made a motion to give Katie, the board chair, the authorization of completing the paperwork and the salary? Because we've already posted that salary range on the job post. So if the board should, that way we'll speed up the process. And if the board can make a quick motion, let Katie have the authority to work with ADOA on the salary increase special assignment for Nikki Suka, please.
This is Elise. That can certainly be the next thing, but we need to finish voting on the last motion first. Still on the floor.
What motion? We already finished it.
Well, they made the motion. They haven't voted on it as far as I can tell.
Yeah,
It
this
was a-
is Commissioner. And this is Commissioner Sanko. There's a motion to schedule our regular board meeting starting the week of February 15th. That's the motion on the floor. Do we have a second to that motion?
This is Commissioner Kidd. Commissioner Herron already seconded that motion.
This is Commissioner Sanko. Okay, so let's call for the vote. Kyla,
I think we can just ask if anyone disagrees with the motion.
this is Commissioner Sanko. If everybody is okay with scheduling a meeting the week of the 15th, great. Anyone in opposition, please share your opposition now. Seeing none, the motion carries. So we'll meet that week of February 15th with time and date sent via schedule through Kyla.
This is Commissioner Herron. I move that we authorize our Madam Chair, Commissioner Cienko, to work with ADOA to complete the paperwork and have these salary discussions and select a salary within the salary range for Nikki Sukup as the interim director.
I
This is
second
Commissioner
that,
Kidd.
Commissioner Kidd.
This is Commissioner Cienko. We're just going to take an opposition vote. Is anyone in opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing and hearing none, the motion carries. And I am very happy to take on those responsibilities. Stella and Brian, let's keep in touch. The three of us can work together on completing those tasks. Just to let you know, I am off on Mondays, but the three of us can discuss a time to get together offline.
Sounds good.
Commissioner Herron, I move to adjourn. Commissioner Cienko. Commissioner Herron moves to adjourn the meeting. Commissioner Cienko says, okay, Commissioner Herron moves to adjourn the meeting.
Love to second that one.
And this is Commissioner Cienko. I am ready to call it a day as well, as I'm sure many of you are. I would like to take the time to thank everybody for sharing your input, your experience, and for helping me through the Robert's Rules of Order parliamentary procedure. It's been a while since I've done this type of board work. So again, I appreciate everybody who has been here. Thank you for your patience and for helping one another through the process. That is the value of teamwork. And we hope that the board will continue to work together and learn from each other as we go. With that being said, thank you all for everything you do, for serving people in our community. And again, congratulations to Nikki. And I want to thank Carmen Green and Sue K. Kneifel. I know that this has been a challenging process for both of them, and they have been nothing short of amazing through this process. The community and the agency are thankful for all that you have done. I'd like to wrap up our meeting by saying good evening, have a good week, and we'll be in touch and see you next meeting.
Thank you so much. Bye.